On September the 19th, 2021, skeletonized remains were found in the Mykahatchee Creek Environmental Park near Northport, Florida. So in spite of Brian Laundrie's remains being confirmed by the FBI, the conspiracy theories were vast. I mean, they were... So stick around, y'all, if you want to hear one crazy wild story or a couple crazy stories involving the biggest piece of disinformation about Brian Laundrie on the internet.
We're watching you. We're watching you.
So one day the Laundries are just in their backyard, minding their own business, doing a little bit of gardening, and then apparently out popped Brian Laundrie's hand, and his mother, I don't know, gave him a high five or something. Seriously, it's like Brian Laundrie became a zombie and popped out of the garden. That just doesn't make any sense. How does that make any sense? Who believes this crap? What is going on? I can't even take this seriously, y'all. And this structure, they say, is like an exhaust or an entrance to a bunker. Truthfully, a bunker can be built in Florida. It's a little harder. If you dig 3 or 4 feet in some areas, you're gonna hit some water. Give me some better evidence. Seriously, I'm down for it. Give me some evidence. I'll believe you. If your evidence is really good. But otherwise, yeah, okay, whatever. But according to all the professionals, you can build a bunker there. It might be a little hard, the neighbors not to notice, but it can be done. So one of the biggest and most profound pieces of misinformation is that the DNA that was found in the skull at the environmental park wasn't that of Brian Laundrie. Definitely hotter than crayfish in the middle of summer New Orleans. The thing about extracting DNA from skeletonized remains is that you actually have to have it sent to a forensic anthropologist to get it done. It's a very specialty skill and only a few people have it, but it definitely can be done. So one of the earliest and biggest promoters of this idea was a post by something called Skyline News on Facebook. And so what is Skyline News? We're going to get to that. We'll get to that. And so then there was the Appalachian Trail theory, which, to be honest, made a lot more sense. Brian was known to frequent this area, and trust me, everybody and their mother was spotting Brian Laundrie in this location. It's a little odd that the story's turning into yikes. So now we're going to start getting into the wild part. Remember that post about the DNA matching and Skyline News? Well, Skyline News is the master child of a notoriously interesting fella named Chad Nispet. And my boy Chad? Chad has quite an interesting history, if you could call it that.
We're getting to the bottom of something that a lot of people in Buncombe County are upset about.
So on October the 6th, the day after Skyline's post, GB Biano with WFLA in Tampa, Florida, put Skyline on blast. Wow. JB just explained that the Nancy Grace show had poorly written graphics, and that was it. She said pretty much what the authorities were saying. Brian's DNA was matched through dental records, that no DNA test had been performed yet, and that they couldn't determine cause of death. She did mention that it made her pretty skeptical and she had a lot of questions, but she didn't say anything like Skyline's post. So this whole thing got so out of control that the Newport police issued a statement. In that statement, they were basically saying that they hadn't done any DNA test and that had yet to be done. So tell me, Chad, how in the hell are you gonna get no DNA match in a skull when no DNA test was done? Come on, man, tell me about it. I'd like to hear. So Chad didn't take very well to JB's assertion at all, not in the least. In fact, he just doubled down, because that's what you do. Chad was asked to redact a statement, and he straight refused, standing by his reporting. Absolutely, 100%. In fact, Chad had to add a jab by saying JB's reporting is false. Now, I've been watching JB's reporting. If you take JB and Chad head on head, I'm sorry, man. JB creams Chad like royally. Come on, Chad. It was your header. That's all it was. It was your header. Your header was labeled wrong. Oh my God. So Chad seemed to be really excited about all the exposure that his post made, bragging about some crazy number of shares and views.
We've gotten a lot of response. We've had over views of that article. It has been shared, I think, over 100,000 times. But 6 million views is a record for us here at Skyline, and we're thrilled that people are watching that. And we thank Nancy Grace for her great show she had on last night.
It sounds like one of Chad's investigators had found Brian near grandfather's house. I'm just joking, Chad.
Some breaking news. We believe we have found Brian Laundrie. We have had several tips come out from here in western North Carolina that he was along the Appalachian Trail. We had several of these tips come and tell us that he was in Hot Springs, Max Patch area, and the Meadows Fork area. But we believe we have found him. We've got a picture of him. We have contacted the local law enforcement about it. I want to thank the last tip that came into us here. We have the license tag and the exact car he was driving. It is a white Hyundai Sonata. We had the tag number. We've had the tag number run, and it comes back to the grandfather of this guy, Brian Laundrie. His name is Thomas Laundrie, and he lives in New Bern, North Carolina. Cops are there right now as we speak. So this is breaking news. Skyline News has been tracking this guy ever since he had come to western North Carolina. Now, as we speak, I'm going to show you a picture from some video we've obtained. We believe that is him. When our guy drove by, he jumped in the bushes to hide. I can't tell you the name of the person that's driving that car, but I've been working with him all morning because he is right there on the scene, ready to go live if this happens. So if the police arrest this guy.
But Skyline News was the only source I could find for that. So, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true that Brian's uncle lives near the Appalachian Trail. It could be. Hell, I don't know. So, Chad's reporting on Skyline News seems to be a mix of very local news and also very, kind of what I would say, typical partisan punditry. Nothing I really wouldn't expect from that kind of journalism. He does seem really, really fond of culture war issues, which I freaking hate that kind of stuff. But if you just dig a little deeper, just a little deeper, you'll find some rather... Some people would claim that Chad's a protest instigator. It's true. At one time, he was the chairman of the North Carolina Republican Party. He did seem to kind of peter out when it comes to running for politics. So there was this here incident.
And a bullhorn, and he started blowing it from the top of the hill all the way through the underpass.
All we did was a counter-protest to their protest.
Man, that's a really bizarre way to protest. So now we're gonna come to the crazy shit. This is the event Chad's probably most known for. On September the 23rd, 2020, a protest was held in North Carolina after prosecutors in Kentucky declined to press charges against the police who shot and killed Breonna Taylor. During the event, Chad did suffer a traumatic brain injury. This is a fact. But if you check out the witness statements of the event, it does seem, though, as that Chad and the protesters seem to be agitating each other. Apparently, Chad was doing a live stream at the protest. A protester approached Chad with an umbrella, saying they don't want their faces seen. And Brian apparently responded by saying, "You're impeding my way of traffic here, sir. I'm trying to walk down the sidewalk. Excuse me, don't touch me, don't touch me." A protester said that he was getting something out of his backpack and then complains he's being touched, while Nebbit says, "Nobody's touching you." At that point, Chad's live stream goes dead.
Umbrellas because they don't want their faces seen. You're impeding my way of traffic here, sir. I'm trying to walk down the sidewalk. Excuse me. Excuse me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Nobody touch you. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. You little piece of shit, man. Shut it down.
So what they've done, they've stopped right here in front of the Ashland Police Department, right here at the corner of Spruce Street.
We do.
Nobody's touching your stuff.
And in another shot of the incident, which you can't see terribly well, you could see a guy in camouflage being pushed into Chad. And even another video shows Chad lying unconscious next to a parking meter, and apparently his head got slammed into that parking meter. Woo! Pretty crazy stuff. There's a lot of weird things going on at the same thing. Apparently Chad and another photojournalist were trying to get restraining orders against each other at the very same time. And just so you know, I definitely believe it's your American right to protest. We all have that right as an American. Don't let that shit get violent. That's not cool. I don't care what side you're on. It's not cool. Oh, and how could I forget this little gem I like to call Chad's Parody Gate?
Leadership team are apologizing tonight for their roles in a video parody. It was made in 2006 as a retirement gift for departing Parks and Rec director Irby Brinson. Local businessman Chad Nesbitt and former councilman Carl Mumpower offered a $1,000 reward to anyone who had evidence of illegal activity by city officials.
I'm Mike Fryer, and over here to my right is a good man, and his name is?
I'm Chad Nesbitt.
We're both mad. We're mad as hell.
Deputy City Manager Jeff Richardson plays Mike Fryer. Former Planning Director Scott Schufert is Chad Nesbitt.
Former Mayor Lenny Kicknick.
Public Works Director Kathy Ball plays former Mayor Lenny Sitnick.
I was stunned.
One of the targets in the video, Chad Nesbitt, says this is nothing to laugh about.
These people are the city managers doing this type of stuff with tax dollars.
Nesbitt says Ball personally called him to apologize.
We need a greenway. We need another Frenchy Prince Greenway.
And Richardson has already apologized to Fryer,
He called me yesterday and told me what they'd done.
who's now a county commissioner and accepts the apology.
Cameras are everywhere and things can sneak out, and it did, but that's okay with me. We're all people, you know.
City Manager Gary Jackson also appears in the video.
I had no choice. It was this man.
I think I've been entirely too serious about, council, the budget, and dealing with all these issues.
The city manager says it's not likely there were any out-of-pocket expenses.
And in conclusion, while I totally believe it's cool to make reasonable theories about true crime events, let's keep the crazy, unreasonable, woo-woo-woo stuff, at the back door. Bye, y'all.